The 2021 French Grand Prix, fantastic race. Obviously, Max Verstappen winning again. We're here to discuss it. We've got James with us. James, how you doing, mate?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, fantastic, mate. I'm really good. And to sort of speak about our French Grand Prix as well today, we're going to have a brief mention. We've got a little Euro 2020 theme as well. Obviously, the Euros are on. I've got my England shirt on. I'm sure everyone's going to be watching the game against Czech Republic tonight. So we'll fly into the Grand Prix first and have a little touch on a bit of a Euro theme that we've adopted for tonight's episode. So first, for race review. So James, firstly, have you got any quick thoughts before we get our discussion topics up?
Well, I am really getting worried with Yuki Tsunoda now. He's really pushing that car a bit too much. I was at work when I was watching qualifying, and so my time's limited when I'm watching it, and then I flick it on, and he's crashed. Well, just literally as I'm putting it on, and that to me means I can't really watch the full session because I only get an hour to watch it, so it was disappointing for me.
It's his third red flag he's had in qualifying. I think is it two back to back as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think he has because
did it in Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
No, I'm worried for. Well, I mean, the circuit, Paul Ricard, it's not everyone's favourite. It's definitely a power circuit, which is why I was sort of surprised. Obviously, Red Bull did so well. It's got 167 different layouts. It's really confusing to watch on the telly as well with all those lines. But we'll start with this man. He's just appeared in the corner, Lando Norris. Only driver to score in every race. He's only finished outside the top 5 once, or top 6 once, I believe. What do you think to the start of the season, James?
Yeah, excellent start to the season. The first driver I look at to see where he's finishing, my favourite quality start. I didn't watch the race in full, but when I saw he was so far behind, I was a bit worried. But then at the end, I saw he managed to get past his teammate as well and still finish 5th.
No, he did. He didn't have the greatest opening few laps, but Daniel Ricciardo, everyone thinks he's a fantastic driver, and I agree. But Lando Norris is really doing a job on him at the moment, and I know he's sticking with McLaren, and I really hope that car next year is competitive because by the looks of it, he could be challenging at some point for a world championship. But speaking of a world championship, obviously we've got these two gentlemen, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. Obviously, strategy won the race, and Mercedes have won races from strategy before, so it's not like it's a one-off. But what were your thoughts? Obviously, seeing Max pit for a second time and Lewis stay out, it feels like a bit of a silly decision by Mercedes, which is quite a rare mistake.
Yeah, it was a bit of a confusing one because even before the races, you heard Bottas say on the radio he felt that the 2-stop was the right strategy, and I don't know. I just got that feeling myself that it was more a 2-stop than a 1-stop. So I'm really confused as to where they went wrong.
No, it's a bit weird, but I mean, then again, he's increased his championship lead even more. Max has, and I mean, I don't think we can rule Hamilton out until the final race, but for where we are now, this is a really exciting championship fight, and hopefully it continues throughout. I think he's got a 13-point lead. So, I mean, that's still only one DNF. So it's not a major swing, but it's a lot better to be in this position than with Hamilton and Bottas running away with it as they have been doing for the last 2 or 3 years.
Definitely.
So it's exciting. Sort of speaking of Bottas, I'm just going to move us over. Obviously, he said this on the radio. So why the fuck no one listened to me when I say it's going to be a 2-stopper? Obviously, he said that, I believe, just as Perez had overtook him or just as Perez was about to overtake him. What are your thoughts on the relationship between Bottas and not just James, obviously, his engineer who speaks to all the time, but what are your thoughts on his relationship to Mercedes in general? Because it seems very sour and it seems to be turning quite nasty.
Yeah. Obviously, I've been reading rumours this week that Toto Wolff's already made the decision that George Russell's going to be in the Mercedes next season and he's not going to renew Bottas's contract. Yeah. So if that were to be true, Bottas is then, he may already know himself, and that may be the case. So he's prepared to be a bit more vocal on the team radio now, because now he's not fighting for his place in the team.
No, it is. I did hear a similar rumour that Russell was going to be announced over the Silverstone weekend, which is obviously, I think it's July 16th, 17th and 18th, something like that. So it's like, but if you announce that you're losing your job in July, his heart's not going to be in it. Could we see that change happen sooner, potentially? if it does happen? Because obviously it's not going to be Ocon now.
No, he signed a new contract to Alpine. But we've seen it before. Like Ricciardo last season, he still raced quite hard for Renault, even though he knew already. He knew. They basically announced that in the second race. I think it was. I think he was going.
No, himself, Sainz, Vettel. I think they all knew before the season even started. But obviously, it was a weird season last year.
Yeah.
But this is different because the only seat I can see available to Bottas will be the Williams seat. But I don't really know A, why he'd go to Williams, and B, why Williams would really. I mean, I know why they'd want him in one sense of experience, but
yeah,
is that what they need? They probably need someone to come in and A, maybe generate a little bit of revenue, and B, potentially be a Mercedes junior, because Mercedes might still have control over that seat.
Yeah.
So it's real. But I mean, speaking about Ocon, obviously, it just popped up as well. Obviously, he signed a new deal with Alpine. He didn't have the best weekend this weekend, but obviously, to see that he's going to be in Formula One for quite a while now. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think he's done really well.
He has. He's had a few up and downs over the past, but this season he's a bit more consistent than usual. But yeah, I've been reasonably impressed.
I have, especially to go toe-to-toe with a two-time world champion and a notoriously difficult teammate. I think he's done fantastic. Look, obviously, he didn't have the best weekend in his home Grand Prix, but he's only raced in France twice, and on the last time out, he crashed on the first lap. So it's not like it's unique. It's like Charles Leclerc and Monaco. It just doesn't really go well together.
No.
But jumping on to a bit of a Euro 2021 fantasy, a Euro 2020 F1 fantasy theme that I've sort of created. Obviously, if you're watching the pod, feel free to join in. James, I'm going to give yourself and I'm going to give myself £15 million to spend. And in that £15 million, you've got to choose a livery, an engine, a team principal, and our 2 drivers. And obviously, for anyone who's sort of watching at home as well, feel free to comment or to send in the sort of teams you've come up with. But we'll start with the livery. So I've set out a rule, because obviously the livery doesn't make any difference. I've set out a rule that all the liveries are at a cost of £2 million. So that's £2 million out your budget straight away. James, I'll jump to you. Which livery is your team going to adopt for the Euros?
It's got to be the Aston Martin.
Any thoughts on why?
It's the nicest looking car. I think I do like the colour.
That's nice. And I think I'm going to go with Alpine for this one, just because it's got a bit of a European feel. Obviously, it's got the French flag on. So I'm going to go with Alpine. Obviously, James, Aston Martin. You may notice Haas haven't got their livery in this. That's because obviously they're an American-based team, so it wouldn't come under the European banner for the competition. So your engine, again, no Honda because they're Japanese. So you spent $2 million on your Aston Martin livery. You've got Renault for $2 million, Ferrari for $3 million, and a Mercedes engine for $4 million. Where are you going to
go? This is a difficult one.
I know it's weird.
Because I see no other option than to go for the Mercedes engine, because Ferrari struggled. But their engine doesn't seem to produce much, and same with Renault, to be honest.
I know I'm going to have to go Mercedes for the exact same reasons, in the sense of I can't.
Yeah.
I'd want to go Honda, but I didn't put Honda in because it's not European.
Yeah.
So we both spent $6 million. Next one, team principal. So all the principals are European. So I've just copied this from Wikipedia. All the principals are European. Their prices are based off the teams. Obviously, Haas and Williams and Alfa Romeo, $1 million. Alpha Tauri, Aston Martin, McLaren and Alpine are $2 million. Ferrari and Red Bull are $3 million. And then if you want Toto Wolff, it's $4 million, because he's definitely the best team principal, in my opinion. So I've knocked his price up a little bit. So looking at that, James, who are you going to go with?
Oh, 100% Gunther Steiner.
Can't disagree with that, can you, actually?
No.
Any reason why?
Cheapest option, plus he would definitely keep the 2 drivers in order.
Oh, 100%. I'm going to go for Andreas Seidel from McLaren, just because of how well McLaren have done over the past few years, and I think he could be one of them who, if McLaren have been on a massive upsurge since him and Zach Brown came in, and so I'm going to go for that. But I mean, I kind of wish I'd gone for Steiner now. Anyway, our drivers, we've got 15 drivers on offer. Obviously, there's no Latifi, there's no Stroll, there's no Latifi Stroll, there's no Perez, there's no Tsunoda, and there is no... Who's the other one? Latifi, Stroll, Tsunoda, Perez. Who's the other one? I've confused myself so much here. We've got the two Mercedes drivers. We've got a Red Bull. We've got the two Alfa Romeos. We've got the two Haas drivers. One Alfa Tauri, two Ferrari, one Williams. Oh, Daniel Ricciardo. How did I forget Daniel Ricciardo?
Yeah.
How did I forget Daniel Ricciardo then? So, that was bad. So, James, you've got £8 million to spend, and I've got £7 million to spend. So, obviously, we've got our bracket. So, 1 million, you've got Giovinazzi, Schumacher, and Mazepin. 2 million, you've got Raikkonen, Ocon, and Bottas. I put Bottas there simply because I couldn't really justify putting him anywhere else. 3 million, you've got Gasly, Alonso, and Russell. 4 million, Sainz, Vettel, and Norris. And then 5 million, Leclerc, Hamilton, and Verstappen. So, £8 million, James. Who are you having and why?
I'm going to go Verstappen and Gasly, which is actually a previous Red Bull partnership.
It is, yeah.
Verstappen's been putting in some very good results, and Gasly has been performing wonders in that Alpha Tauri, and I just think he is a top level driver.
He is, and I've gone very similar. I've also gone Gasly for 3 million, but I've gone with Lando Norris, obviously, because I can't spend the 5 billion. And I've said it constantly, that's a young lineup, obviously yours is as well, but I think Norris is showing that in probably the fourth fastest car on the grid, although obviously this weekend it probably was for third, but the fourth fastest car on the grid, he's consistently putting in the top 5. And then with Gasly, obviously, I mean, you've seen the gap between him and Tsunoda is just ridiculous. And that's not necessarily down to Tsunoda's inability. It's more down to Gasly's strong ability. So that's what I'm going with. So a mix of teams, a little bit of a Euros theme on that one. But no, thank you so much for coming on to the pod, James. It's fantastic speaking with you and to obviously briefly review the French Grand Prix. Have a lovely evening. Enjoy the England game tonight, mate. And I'll speak to you soon.
I will. Thank you. See you later.